All right, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome all. This is our 10th meeting, believe it or not. And we wanted to have fewer meetings, which we've done, but I've gotten to the absolute minimum. I think we'll be meeting every 2 weeks or so for now, until we get to the end of January or February, actually. So I want to be sure that I'm here for key moments. I'll just have to make the meetings a little shorter if we need to. Okay, let's go ahead. First of all, here's some timely, wait, before we start, any burning questions that maybe I won't cover, but I'll answer the question, and maybe it is in the session. Anybody want to ask me something before we get started? Because sometimes that's good to do so I can know what to emphasize. Anybody? All right, well, as we go through, as usual, I've budgeted enough time for questions. Please feel free to put them in the chat between Christina and Brianna. They'll sure let me know there's a question when I get to the end of the view chart, or you could just go ahead and stop me. Say, I have a question, Deacon, about what you just said. All right, here's some timely advice for youth and parents, probably. Try not to be stressed. God is in control. And even if you're not particularly religious or believe God, I think you'll agree that being stressed really isn't. It's easy to be stressed this time of year. I'm helping people go to college and I can feel it. There's a lot of pressure, but just know it's all in control. If you apply to UC CSUs, this is for students. Daily checks on your portals and your email is required. Even if you do not want to go to CSU or you don't want to go in state. It's very important to check your portals and stay up to date on that. If you apply to out-of-state public university, you want to watch your emails. Sometimes they tell you important information. A lot of times there's stuff going on the campus, but sometimes, occasionally, it's something they want from you, want you to agree to. And if you don't see it, that could affect your enrollment status. On many of your private colleges, this is very good here. Calls by students to check the application status are welcomed by the university and can help your admission stances. A lot of times they look at that. They're always wondering if they admit a student, will they actually attend? That's the next big problem they're going to have. And if you call and show an interest or have a question, they notice it. And I'm going to tell you what to say in that call later in the meeting, okay? Parents, please do not call for students. This is a great life lesson for them if they'll go ahead and make the calls themselves. I really think they should. Don't call for the students. One parent one year told me she called for her son. And I said, well, didn't they know it wasn't you? And she said, well, I can talk real low, real easy, or something like that. I don't know. But I think students, you should really call for yourself. If you applied to Boise State, and there are 3 of you here, ironically, and you've not been admitted yet, it'd be really cool to call the Western Regional rep, not call, but to email her. I think that's a good experience. I could do it. She'll just tell me, but I think that's a good experience for you to have to communicate with that Western Region rep. Her name is Abby, and I'll be glad to get you in touch with her, okay? Probably a good idea to check if schools have received the FAFSA. Also, you should order your student aid report and see if the school is listed. I'm going to cover that today, although I emailed about it last week. I'm going to cover it in this session today. You'll leave here knowing what I mean. Because on the student report, page 4 is where the schools are listed, and that's what you should be checking. Some of you have 2 student aid reports. I'll explain why you could have 2. Some even have 3, and I'll explain that too. Regarding college costs, and I'm going to sort of be talking about college cost issues a lot today. I think it is something on a lot of people's minds, especially with the state of the economy and trying to plan for college. I like Luke 14:28-30. For which of you intending to build a tower does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it, lest after he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, This man began to build and was not able to finish. Well, you don't want that test. In fact, you realize cost is the number one reason that students stop out of college. And I know it might shock you. It shocks me every time I see the numbers that really in the middle class, only 48% of students finish college. And the lion's share of those that don't is because of cost. But on my program, because we bring it up, we let you see what it will cost, we show you things. It's usually not that on our program. In fact, 84% of our students finish college. And I really had a goal years ago to never make it because you were surprised by the cost of the college. I would not like you to be surprised. That's not a good thing. What will college cost? We're going to look at this from different angles. I'm really excited about some of these view graphs I'm led to show you today. A lot of them are new and things that I learned last year we need to show. Here are the assumptions I make about this student. That they have a 3.65 GPA or lower, right? Or lower. 4 family members, and that's most of my students on the program. I have a few that are above that. Incomes are total household, HH is household, everyone, income. So it's not one parent, it's the total household. Student direct loans are at the maximum. In other words, I'm assuming they take out their direct loan. Incidentally, the student direct loan, I know there's a lot in the news lately about it. Most students, the average student direct loan is about $14,000 to $18,000, depending on how you do the average. And normally students will be able to pay $200 to $300 a month for their loan, and they can finish that loan up in 7 years. It's really not the issue. I think students should pay something for college, because when they have skin in the game, I find that they're a much more willing participant. It's just logical that way. It's the parent loans that are really the issue. So I went ahead and assumed they'll take the student direct loan each year. And maybe they don't need it some years. And if they do the things we talk about in the spring, they probably will only need it 2 of the 4 years. I'm going to show students how to get through college with half the loans they would have had earlier, make it much more sustainable, and show them how to reduce your parent loan. So we definitely want to have the students starting to attend after the new year. Down here for your convenience, I've listed the amounts of those loans for each year, the maximum for the loans for each year. If the students take the maximum amount of loans, they owe about $340 per month. If they pay it for, I think it's 3.5 years, the equivalent of 3.5 years once they consolidate, they pretty much are finished with their student loans. I know there's a lot in the news about student loans, paying off student loan debt, but that's because 2/3 of students make no payments on their loans, and the loans increase and escalate, and also because of parent loans. Let's see, from 0 to 40,000, you can see I have CSU, UC, and private. These are the amounts I expect people to pay. I want to draw your attention to private school, where I say that 4,000 to 45,000 all the way across. That seems unbelievable to say that, but I can find a private school to meet that requirement at each one of these income levels. But it's all a matter of the school you actually pick, right? It really is. Even for the one making 0 to 40, look at the wide window. That's why I always tell people who are in the 0 to 40 or 50 range, if you're going to send a student away to school and pay 30, 40,000 parent loan a year, you really need to have a very, 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 very good reason, because you could get it for $4,000 staying right here in California. Actually, less than that, 900 or 0 here in California. As low as that, or as high as these numbers here, 3,000, and I'm sorry, I have my marker here. You could pay, $3,000, $1,500 maximum versus this larger amount here, right? Okay, so
Can I ask a quick question?
you sure doesn't have to, whoever said that doesn't have to be quick.
That's okay. These dollar figures, is this yearly or per semester or what?
This is yearly. I'm having mercy on you today. This is yearly. This is yearly.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, so I thought about whether I should show it as 4 years or 1 year, but these are yearly here. These are nice estimates. I think these estimates are very good based on my recent history. sent hundreds in the last few years to college, so we have a good sense of it. The cool thing is, if you pick one of the schools, we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll get to it. How will I pay for college? All right. Oops. I'm sorry. What am I doing here? Okay, there we go. How will I pay for college? There's a few view graphs on that now. And some of you haven't seen these. Most of you have not. Some of you saw them so early in the year it made no sense. But I always say as we get closer and closer to the decision time, it makes more and more sense. The college direct cost analysis for CSU, quickly. This is about what CSU looks like, $6,500 to $8,200 tuition and fees. And that's a wide range because some CSUs, like, for example, Long Beach doesn't have a lot of student unique fee, campus unique fees, very few. So they're very close to that 6,500. But other campuses like San Diego State and San Francisco State have a lot of student costs, additional campus unique fees that make it 8,200. So every CSU does not cost the same. And you might wonder, why is that? Well, the base is the same, but the student unique fees are different because of if you would go back to when they did Proposition 32, I think it was, that was CSU's way of getting around it without raising their fees. You wonder, well, why did some schools raise and others didn't, these extra fees? And the reason is because of the property values. Some of our CSUs were on land given to them by the cities they're in, or the county or the state. And others actually purchased, there was actually purchases and bond measures to build the school. And those are more expensive properties sometimes too. But anyway, that's the window on CSU. Interesting, shout out to Sister Shayla. I make the statement here, the semester is 1/2 of that. Well, I didn't even know that was coming. I forgot it was coming. All right, UC, tuition and fees of $15,000, $17,000 per year. The semester cost, as you see here, semester cost is half of that, but that's the whole year, $15,000 to $17,000 for UC. The room and board is $13,575. So it costs about $30,000 to $36,000 to send a student to UC without any kind of grant assistance and no kind of need-based assistance. That's what it would cost. Let's see. Private colleges have that wide window again, $25,000 to $62,000 in tuition and fees. Like USC is right now $62,000. It's the highest cost private school in the country right now. Its room and board is $17,000, so they're almost $80,000 a year now. The room and board is $15,000 to $19,500 depending on the school. Okay. It's easy to kind of figure out what it's going to cost. Now, what I don't have here is the financial aid effect, but we're going to talk about how to read those again in a minute. Don't worry. We'll show the relationship between the financial aid award and these amounts that are here. The college enrollment financial, yeah, let's look at this. This is the financial aid review and award process. This is a new chart here. I wanted to relate it to college enrollment. So here we have the college financial aid office's review here. They get the information from the FAFSA and they review it. And then we go 2 paths here. You could have financial aid verification. You may not. I should have had a middle thing here where I say down here that you go straight through, But you could have verification. In that case, the 2021 federal income transcripts and additional forms are delivered as part of verification. Now, if you filed your FAFSA, if I filed it, and you didn't hear me say anything about this, I didn't tell you to call for your transcripts. It's because I was able to retrieve it directly from your tax return into your FAFSA, and a lot of you were able to. So then if you get the verification, you won't have to do a transcript. Then that leads to the financial aid award. Or you could have no review. I guess I did say that. And you can get a financial aid award that way. Or you could have a CS profile. Some people have, most of my students won't encounter CS profile. It's only for very selective private colleges and some not so selective, I suppose. It's about 750 schools that require the CS profile. I'll actually say more about it later, I think. They will upload the tax, you'll upload your tax return into the CS profile at some point in the process. Again, if I'm handling it for you, you'll never see that. I'll just do that for you. And then the financial aid award is part of that, comes out of that process. So if you have the CS profile, they'll need the financial aid award. I need the financial aid, the FAFSA and the CS profile. Other important financial aid notes. Please review the college list on your student aid report. Now, let's talk about that now while we're at it. Later on, I'll show you the exact clicks to get to it. Oh, no, I won't. Oh, yeah, I will talk about it later. But I want to be sure that you actually do this, that you will, if we did the FAFSA, we're sending you the student aid reports now. We need you to go to page 4 and look at the schools on the list and sit down with your youth parents and make sure that all the schools are there. You have 2 months to do that, but let's do it now while we're not under time pressure. If we need to add schools that were added to the list that we didn't know about, or, that can be done. You can't take schools off the list, unfortunately, but you can add schools to the list, okay? Students, I need you to watch really closely for financial aid correspondence when you're looking in your portals. And we're actually going to do a video. Christina, could you mark that down, something to do this week? I want to actually do a video that shows them me looking at a student center and what I'm looking for, okay?
Oh, yes.
So I can show them how to read the student center. You and I were looking at that and practicing the other day.
Right. Okay.
So again, if we did your CSU apps, we're going to make sure you know how to do this. Okay. And in fact, the video will help everybody, I suppose. If you have trouble actually doing anything I say today, whether I filed your application or not, get a hold of me. It means we just need to sit down and go through it with you to make sure we're following and monitoring portals and emails properly. Some colleges will withhold the financial aid award until after verification, but most will give a preliminary award first. So watch email. They'll tell you, we need some things for verification for financial aid. And you'll remember we covered that here. So I'll help you through verification.
Deacon Wilson, there's a question. Will you receive the financial aid award in an email/letter or only access through the website?
The answer is yes. So it depends on the school. CSU will only tell you about, let me go over each classification. That will help. CSU will only tell you that information. They will only tell you through the student portal. That's how you'll find out. UC will send a separate email once and only once after you're accepted to the university. Usually about a week later, they'll send it to you. Sometimes right away, right? Private schools are all over the ball yard. Some email you, some have a portal, some say go to the website and log in, some are writing you an email telling you how to find out. They're all different, private schools. The trend is moving toward portals. I have to tell you that, like an information portal, you go through to see it, and they just tell you in an email that it's there. Nobody is mailing financial aid awards anymore. In fact, college admission letters, the mailed admission letter, oh, you open your mail, I'm admitted. It's not true anymore. I watched a movie, I think it was Spider-Man Coming Home or whatever it was called. I don't know. I forgot what it was called. If anybody remembers, you can tell me. They featured a part where they were going to the mail and looking for their letters. And I'm thinking, that's not even right. That's not what happens. It's going to be in a portal. So I hope I answered that right on financial aid. And that's why you really need your students to get involved with looking for the financial aid correspondence. Unfortunately, the schools will only correspond with the youth. Now, there's some schools that will copy you as well. They will do that. But a lot of them only communicate with the student. And obviously, as you would expect, obviously, as you would expect that there's a chance to miss things, which is why I'm covering this here. I hope that answered the question. Go ahead.
There's actually another question, a follow-up question. When the schools,
go ahead.
Yeah, when the schools send a message to the student's portal, will an email automatically be sent to notify that a message was sent to the portal?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I'd have to know what school we're talking about. In fact, the CSUs are all over the ball yard. Bakersfield will email you and put it in the portal. Sonoma will email you and put it in the portal. But there's some that won't. San Diego State won't. It's only in that red something, what's it called? Christina, remember what they call this? Red book?
Red ID.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's only there. I knew you'd know. So it depends on the school. Unfortunately, there's no, and that's why I'm covering this now. That's why this view graph exists. So you won't, trust me, after hearing this, somehow you will not miss it. Now, many people who are not here will miss it, unfortunately, if they don't see the video. They're just, every year that happens, you know, you will, and further answering that, every year I get to April, I get a call from someone who hasn't been in the meetings or haven't seen for a while, and they're terrified. They don't know what they're going to pay for college. They haven't seen the financial aid award. They don't know how to make the decision. And I find out usually that the student or nobody's looking in that portal, no one's watching the email. I hope that answered it. I didn't like that I had to answer it that way, but that really is the answer. Okay. Let me see that. Okay, that's it's my buddy, Sister Christina. All right, Christina Carmouche. All right, okay, Carmouche. All right, let's go ahead. If I filled out your FAFSA, check with me before you start the verification. If you see there's going to be verification, they're asking you questions, please do not make changes to your FAFSA before you contact me. When you donated to have us do your FAFSA, we want to be there for you if there's verification to make sure it's done properly, okay? And you'll start seeing those in January, but you'll wonder whether you should do anything because the school hasn't been picked yet. And we might just be strategic, but let me know anyway. That's one of my sneaky ways I know what schools are in the top on the students list. This is when we decide which ones we send additional information to. Here's some additional advice. I advise you to call 800-908-9946 and order your 2021, listen closely, federal income tax transcript in the case of the 2023 FAFSA, which is the FAFSA they're doing. In case it's selected for verification, you want to have that transcript ready. Even if you think that I've retrieved the information, still have it ready. Sometimes you get an amateur financial aid office that doesn't understand it was retrieved. And there's a lot of turnover in financial aid offices right now with the labor shortages and everything. It will be mailed in 5 to 7 days, which is great. Just get it out of the way now and get that mailed to you. Be sure when you call them that you order the tax transcript and not the account transcript, okay? It's the tax transcript for 2021. If you file the CSS profile, watch the student's email for additional financial aid requirements. So when you get to the CS profile, which is the additional document, most of you, I'm looking around the room here, and nobody here, I don't think. There's a couple that might show up later, but there's additional requirements after you file the FAFSA that have to be done when you have a CS profile. Like, for example, you need to file a document called the IDOC for uploading returns in the W-2s, non-custodial parent. If there's a non-custodial parent, that parent's information has to be sent on a CSS profile. Okay. Any questions out there? I guess we're okay. All right, here's some important financial aid. This is a really good part of the meeting here, important too. Important financial aid definitions. First of all, what is financial aid is an important thing. Well, it's a lot of things. Watch closely. It's loans, student loan we talked about earlier, it's $5,500 the first year. The parent loan for undergraduate students if it's necessary. And that's the loan parents you want to minimize. That's the idea, is to minimize that loan. So you don't take on that debt, especially going to whatever's going to happen with this economy. I don't know what's going to happen with it. And then you have all of these: Pell Grants, work study, institutional need-based grants, institutional academic, athletic, or artistic merit awards. And those are all free money, people call it. All the work study, you might argue, isn't. They're all basically don't have to be paid back. That's the point. So financial aid is a combination of loans and things you don't have to pay back. And sometimes when we parents say financial aid, we mean grants. Did you get any financial aid? Or somebody will tell me, I didn't get any financial aid. And I'll find out they did get the loans, because everybody, those are really entitlement programs, especially the student one. Parents can opt out of the PLUS loan, so it's not really an entitlement. And students can opt out of the 5,500, I suppose. But the parent loan's not an entitlement because you have to pass credit check. Whereas the student loan, you don't have to pass credit check. It's an entitlement. By the way, if you don't want them to have any loans, occasionally I get parents like that, and that's fine. That means you're going to pay $5,500 more for school for your student. That's all. You end up going to your loan. Note, many will tell you they got a free ride from the schools. In reality, they still have loans. Okay, they might have got a lot of grants, but free rides are very, 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 very rare now. In fact, you have to go through a program like Westbridge to really say, or get an athletic scholarship. Even athletic scholarships are not free rides, because when the students travel to play with their teams, the coaches make them take out direct loans for spending money, so they can't have jobs. What is relevant financial aid? So now we define what financial aid was, right? Now, what does it mean when we say, what is the relevant financial aid? I told you last week, I would go into way more detail this week with you. Well, what is relevant financial aid last meeting? Well, when we look at the loans, I feel the parent loan is not relevant. I feel it should be determined after you figure out what you actually owe, where I see the student loan as being relevant. Some of you may say both loans are not relevant. That's fine. Federal Pell Grant. It's a maximum of $64.95. It's relevant. Work study I crossed out. I'll explain why later. It's coming up here in a view graph. Institutional need-based grants. They're very relevant. Institutional academic, athletic, or artistic merit awards. They're relevant. But for example, a school like Boise State, you guys will get a West Angeles scholarship, which is like the old WUI, and it will cover $17,000 up front in your costs. And every year they're 2.5 or above, it's $17,000. That's considered an academic merit award. That's what it is. It's for all students that are 3.0 and above. Actually, if you're lower than 3.0 in our program, you could still get it, but you get the idea, right? Any kind of need-based grants. A lot of private schools offer need-based awards. I always say non-HBCUs, because HBCUs pretty much do not do need-based grants. It's just merit awards. So that's your free money, and you can see only the work study was deemed non-relevant. So those are the relevant financial aid, the ones that are not crossed out. Okay? Students should not plan to work the first year in college. I'll have a lot more to say about that coming up here, okay? In case you're interested, here's why federal work study is not relevant. Certainly not the first year. It's so small of an amount anyway. It's really just going to be spending money. I'd say, well, that's still something. Well, let's go on about this. Students can make way more for less hours at other campus and slightly off-campus jobs. But here come the real reasons. I do not recommend students work their first semester. Priority is to meet lots of students your first semester. You want to meet people because you're going to have roommates the next year. If you don't socialize on your campus, you're going to come home. You need to socialize. If you're working and going to school that first semester, nobody's going to get to, you're not going to get to know anybody. Some of these will be your future roommate. You need to get a roommate next year. The school isn't going to help you the second year. You got to find your own roommate, and you need to get one to lower the cost of college. Maybe you'll be off campus, who knows? The more time you can bond with the campus the first year, the more likely you are to finish college. So I don't recommend working the first semester. I used to say the first year. First year, more power to you. That means you're going to get into groups and get in organizations. You're going to be having fun watching sporting events and bouncing it against your studies. And you're going to learn how to study because you're not going to have that distraction. Then maybe the second year, you can work while you're in school. In fact, I recommend strongly that students work the second and third and fourth year. I'll leave it up to you and your student for the second semester. Other important financial aid definitions. What is direct cost of a college? The college costs that are on the bill or are fixed costs, those are direct costs. What's on the bill? Tuition and mandatory fees are on the bill. The housing's on the bill. The food is on the bill. These are called direct costs. Also, the health insurance is on there if you elect to use the school's health insurance. Of course, they come with their own health insurance, and that would not be a direct cost. So these are all the things that are on the bill. Any questions on that, just let me know. What is indirect costs of college? Everything else. Books, travel, spending money, technology. These are all indirect costs of college. Okay? So we say direct costs of college is what's on the bill. And financial aid is pretty much made to address direct costs, not indirect costs. You're going to pretty much pick that up. And that's why these little scholarships you get on the side are going to go and take care of your indirect costs. So students should really look for scholarships that will cover the indirect costs of college. That's why I have third-party scholarship here on the lower right, okay? Other definition, what is EFC? We say, what's the EFC for a college? Well, first of all, I should have said, I don't know if I do or not. I'll tell you what it is first. It's the expected family contribution. It used to be called a lot of different things. You don't need to know that now. But right now it's called the expected family contribution. It's what the federal government thinks you should pay for college. And they usually come out way higher than you thought. But I'm going to tell you why you don't worry too much about that. The EFC is printed on the upper right corner of the student aid report, which is created by the feds from the FAFSA. So when you print your student aid report out, which I'm going to talk about that later, look in the upper right corner, you'll have the EFC, the expected family contribution. It's an output of doing this, the FAFSA. It's why you do the FAFSA. The schools will look at that EFC and make some determination. Well, here it is here. What does the EFC mean? It is not actually what universities will make you pay, because it doesn't factor in merit awards and athletic and artistic awards and special grants and things like that. It's not actually what the universities will make you pay. You could determine what that will be from the financial aid award. When the university send you the financial aid award, you can figure out what you'll actually owe for college. And we're going to cover that today. Said I would do it a couple of meetings. Most universities review your EFC to assist them in determining how much need-based grants you're going to get if they award them. Get this, many universities do not award or will not award need-based grants. Like HBCUs, they do not do need-based grants, okay? All that, so like for middle-class families, they don't do that. Whereas in CSU and UC, you can be middle class and get money from those. I was going to cover that today, but it was a little too much for one meeting. I'll probably talk about that next meeting, or I'll do a separate video on what to expect from the Cal Grant. And from, Cal Grant. All universities use it to determine how much public aid you will receive. Loans, Pell Grant, work study, Cal Grant, university. It's all about public aid. The EFC is used to determine how much federal or state aid you get, okay? It's the federal or state aid. And most of my demographic, to be very honest with you, makes too much to get a lot of federal aid. So you're relying on the additional grants they might give you for middle class, or you just have to probably end up paying it one way or another. That's why how you pick your school and how you pick for costs is very, very relevant. Other general information about EFC, talking about EFC now. The lower the EFC, let me go ahead. The lower the EFC, the more need-based aid for which a student is eligible. So as the EFC goes down, that's more need-based grant the student could potentially get, okay? When the EFC is 0 or under 1,000, right? And it's down to that level. The federal aid plus the state aid will cover 90 to 98% of the college's direct costs when we're talking about CSU and UC. And that's why we have to have a really good reason to pick a private school and pay a lot more for college. I mean, like, you might find that some of the private schools in California are going to be sort of low, but not zero like or very low, like the case of CSU and UC. Even when the EFC is zero, here we go. Most private colleges will still expect a payment of $9,000 to $18,000 per year, depending on the school. The HBCU can be up to 35 or 40,000, even that should be 40. The exception highly depends on GPA. So that's why I didn't put it on here today, but that's why I always say, parents, that students get the school they earn with their grades and want, not just what they want. It's what's earned, because 9 shots out of 10, unless there's a lot of scholarship money coming from the school, you're not going to want to take on a huge amount of debt. For most private colleges, EFC is mostly is mostly totally ignored when the income is greater than 60. When you start getting incomes greater than 60 and 70,000, private colleges have their own policies how they handle it. Some look at a lot of other factors and give you a nice award. That's why you can't look at the EFC in those cases. When your income is above 60 and you're looking at private colleges, I mean, it's above 60, the EFC doesn't really make a difference. I mean, it just means you won't get as much from CSU and UC. But if you're a student, you have high grades, you could get a lot of merit money, and maybe that doesn't bother you. So colleges ignore it. They look at merit, they look at how you fit into the student body, what the quality of your application was. They use all kind of subjective factors to determine. And they have special scholarships like in their trustee boards and from certain donors that you can get as well. That doesn't exist with a state school. Other definitions, here we go. What is unmet need? You'll see a lot of schools will put unmet need and have an amount there. Let me see if I can do this right. Here's what unmet need is. It's the cost of the college, which is the direct cost plus the indirect cost for a college. The unmet need is the total cost minus the EFC, minus the institutional grants and scholarships. And that would be the part that's not met. They're saying you have that need, but they can't meet it. Now, it used to be, when I first started doing this, there were lots of schools that met the unmet needs. Say if you had a 20,000 you still needed after getting your grants, they would meet like 90 and 80% of your unmet need. There's still a couple of schools like that, like Seattle Pacific in Seattle and certainly Grand Canyon. There's schools that do that. There's quite a few that do that, but most of them do not. Very few schools meet, or even 80% meet all of the unmet need. That's where we get the idea that there's high costs for these colleges. Many schools base their admission decision, get this, on how much unmet need there exists, one way or the other. In other words, it's called need blind. When schools are need blind, they don't look at your financial aid award when they're deciding on college. But there are quite a few well-known colleges that do look at your financial aid award when deciding whether to admit. When they're looking at students of the same GPA, they look at that. That's unfortunate. And it could be either way your advantage. You can't always tell from year to year, but they may feel like, if your GPA is a little lower, it's high, but just a little lower, and they feel like you can afford to go, and your parents are going to take out that loan, they'll do it because they know their demographic very well. I hate to give you that perspective, but it is the truth. So there's some schools that are not need blind, and some that are need blind. There's no law that says they have to be need blind, meaning not look at your FAFSA. Like I know a school like GW is need blind, for example, George Washington. They're totally need blind when they're determining what they're going to do. Now, again, HBCUs don't do need-based aid anyway, so they don't have a need they don't even have to grapple with this issue. It's the majority of schools, ironically, that are more likely to give a lot of money to Black families that are middle and upper middle class. It's quite ironic, isn't it? Well, for college, here we go again. Here's a way to look at that. You have your relevant financial aid, right? We discussed relevant financial aid already. We said that it was all your financial aid minus your parent loan and minus your work study. So you have a direct student loan, you have institutional grants and scholarships. You subtract out the direct cost of the college, and that's what you'll owe for college. That's how you determine what you'll owe. A negative amount means that you owe for college. A positive amount means that you're going to get money back, but that's not going to happen. Almost always this amount over here that you're subtracting on this side of, on this side of the minus sign over here, right, is going to be less than the direct cost over here. So you're going to owe for college when it's a negative, okay? Any questions on that? This is really a good summary way of looking at that. Once again, you start with the relevant financial aid. You do the strikeouts. We'll practice this in a minute. Direct student loan plus the institutional grants minus the direct cost of the college. College costs, you know, 80,000 in direct costs. Your financial aid is only 60,000. Then you owe 20,000. I said only 60. You all hear me? Then you owe 60,000. You owe $20,000 for the school year, or 10,000 a semester. Okay. Here's ABC University here. You see it up here. There's ABC University. And you can see the financial aid award here for 22-23, but let's pretend. Let's do a pretend here. This is my pretend world here, okay? Let me get this out of the way. Sorry. Let's pretend that this is 23-24. How's that? Okay. And you can see that here is the financial aid award here. It's broken down by semesters. So this is 23. This is 24. You can see the student direct loan is right here. The 1750 set, that's $3,500. Subsidized, it means you pay no interest on it. Unsubsidized, you just pay a tiny amount of interest on the $1,000 part. That's a total award, if you can see that, of it's $3,500 plus $2,000, $5,500 is what these total here. Oops, sorry. I went too far here. Stand by. Okay. And then I have various awards here. I have a Pell Grant the student gets. That's a maximum Pell Grant. So that student probably has a low EFC, okay? ABC University Grant, Trustee Scholarship. Ooh, they got a merit award. Work Study, and Federal Direct Parent Loan. So we want to know, what is the relevant financial aid? Here's a little test question for you if you're here. What is the relevant financial? How much is the relevant financial aid going to be for this student? Okay, that's the big question. How much will it be? Well, we're going to delete out. Oh, here it is here. Can't find my cursor. We're going to delete these, right? Work study and parent. So that's $9,000 that's taken off here. So this is $13,598. This is exactly what I want you to do, parents, when you get your financial aid award. Take out your pen and your marker and figure that out. Then you go over here. I've cleverly provided for you over here the cost of ABC University, right? ABC University is going to cost $12,290 per semester. Okay, so it's about $12,300. So this is $13,600 plus $13,600. That's what this is right here, right? And we get $27,200. Yes, 200. And we're going to owe about $13,000 each, or $26,000. So you can see we're going to owe. Oh, I see here about what? About $1,200 or $600 per semester. So you can see that this person probably has a low EFC, right? Because they got a great financial aid award compared to the direct cost of the student. This is the kind of thing I want you to know. You'll get this video too, but I really want you to be ready to do that when you get your financial aid award. It makes the questions that you ask me even better, even real sharper and better. I'll just go through this with you if you're having any problem with it. That's exactly what I'm going to do to analyze what's going on in your financial aid award. The problem with financial aid awards, to reiterate this, is that this part right over here that I did a part over here. This part I did over here is not on the financial aid award. You have to go to the website and get it. They only tell you the financial aid award. It's like going into a store and seeing what the prices are reduced by, not what they started at. And nobody buys like that. I don't think anybody on earth actually does it that way, okay? And that's where you get into problems with this. Okay. All right, let's continue on here. So again, what you will owe for college, right? How does that work? You start with relevant financial aid, student direct loan, institutional grants and scholarships, minus the direct cost. Okay, that's how you figure it out. The negative amount means that you owe for college. Here's another example here with ABC University. Again, it's going to be 23-24. You can see the total financial aid award. Oops, did it again. You can see the total financial aid award, which is right here. It's $38,000 per semester. Sounds like a lot, right? It's a whole lot. I must have been in a good mood today. I gave a lot of financial aid here. This is about $76,000 in financial aid. And over here, you see the school is going to be about $79,000. So you can see that in this case, it's going to be $3,000. Oh no, we didn't take this out. You take out the parent loan. It's very important. There's no work study. And you can see this beautiful $38,000 award is going to be reduced, right? By about 39, a total of 39. So it's 76. Again, you can be more exact when you have a calculator. 76,500 minus 19,500 is 29,000, which is almost 30,000. So you're going to owe about $47,000 here. I'm sorry, your financial award is $47,000. Now it's $79,000 to go. So all of a sudden you got this award. It looked really good, but you're going to have a parent loan. The question is, how much do you want to take? 79,000 minus 47,000 leaves us with 32,000, or about, if you take a parent loan, it'd be 16,000 per semester. But that'll be your parent loan every year for 4 years. That's the thing to remember. It's going to be every year for 4 years. Any questions on this? I'll be glad to answer any questions at all on this. This is why it's important that we know before going in kind of how much, not only how much we'll owe, but how to figure out what we actually owe, right? How to figure it out from the financial aid award is a very important thing to do. Let's continue. I have a few other things to tell you about this. So again, it's a relevant financial aid. You take the student loans and the institutional scholarships, grants and scholarships, minus the direct costs. I keep reinforcing it over and over. So why do we have loans for college? I think now the view graphs I did earlier will make better sense for you. Well, here's why we have them. I think you know the answer. You have tuition and fees from the board or direct costs. And why do we have loans? Because the amount of Pell Grants, university grants, and merit scholarships does not match up to the amount in the blue. See, the red is shorter. So there's a part over here which has to be done with your money plus loans. Okay? That's why we actually have loans to make up this gap, the gap that we find there. Here's a loan example with HBCU, I believe. What happens on HBCU a lot of times is there is no red part. There's no merit or institutional grants because maybe they have a 3.7 requirement. This is a 3.5 student that I have up here, right? It's 3.5. What if their merit awards start at 3.8 or 3.9? Then you're pretty much exposed, because I told you earlier, HBCUs do not have institutional or need-based grants. They don't do that. It's all merit. And this is why you can get a school that's a really quality Black school, and you're paying $50,000 a year in loans. So you want to really think about that. Then we're basing this amount of money, this $50,000 income, on line 11 of your 2021 federal tax return. It has adjusted gross on it. Okay. So here's another example here where you might have, in fact, a small, a Pell Grant and other need-based grants. Of course, that's rare for HBCU, but you could have a Pell Grant, and that's what I'm showing here in orange, but you still are exposed to paying and having loans. This is why we have, like foster youth, it's so hard for them because they don't have a parent that can take out the parent loan. They really, but on the other hand, CSU and UC will pay them money to go to school. So obviously, you know where I'd like to see most foster students go. So here's another example of greater than 60,000. You can see that one was pretty much, let me go back and get that. Let me go back. I want to go back, sorry. Okay. So we have income less than 44,000 we did. And you can see when it's less than 44,000 and it's CSU, there's only a small amount you have to pay. This orange amount right here, the amount in the orange here is way bigger. So the point I'm trying to make is that CSU is going to be a better buy for most students that have a need basis. Private college, this is what I wanted to get to. Greater than $60,000, often this is the situation, most often. This is most often what you're looking at. Because remember, it's a 1/3 rule. So you're going to pay the dollars and the loans for about half, and the school's going to pick up the other half. But the point is this could be half of a significant amount of money, as you can see, up to 35,000. Okay. Almost done here of this part. For private colleges, this is a summary of what you just saw there, of what a private college could look like. Or out-of-state public universities like Arizona State. Arizona is the same thing. Now here's some exceptions to those cost rules I showed you earlier. We have a few exceptions. I didn't put them all up here, but Boise State is a good exception. Sonoma State, any CSU is going to be a good alternative. Grand Canyon University, alternative to private schools, right? Grand Canyon is a private school, it doesn't follow anybody's rules. George Washington, the same. If you're on our program, there's special grants you can qualify for at GW that you can't get at other private schools because of our relationship with them. Nevada, Reno, and Lehigh University. So if you change to one of these schools, it's going to be much easier for you cost-wise, better than selective private colleges that cost way, way more. Okay. All right, I finished the cost part. I'm going to move to a couple more topics. And believe it or not, we'll be just about done. I don't want to go too long today. Here's all you need to know about visiting colleges. Again, if you're just coming today, you missed a pretty long segment on college costs. Maybe you can catch the video on our YouTube channel. You want to go over there and subscribe. That's for everyone. Go over there when you can and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Maybe my workers will put the YouTube channel in the chat. Somebody will put that up there, and maybe Christina, you can do that. I don't know. All you need to know about visiting colleges. First of all, this is really important. Colleges are primarily not buildings. I know all of you think of a college as a location and some buildings, but colleges are not buildings. Not mostly at all. Colleges are its staff, its students, and its social atmosphere. So you won't go to a college that you need to visit. Any college you attend, you must visit, right? You may visit schools you don't attend, but the college you attend, you certainly should visit. Colleges are not buildings. When you're visiting colleges, please remember that. So only visit during the week. On Friday or Monday is the best days, because it means you don't lose. Usually there's not a lot of homework on those days, I guess, or not as much. Only visit when students are present on the campus. No drive-bys. If you drive by a school, you haven't visited it. And often I say, if you visit a school on the weekend, some people think that during the Christmas holiday, They're going to drive up Northern California, visit colleges. That's fine. But they won't have tours and there's nobody there. If I was a student and I visited a campus and nobody was there, I would think that's a boring school. So you want to visit when students are present. And when we're going up on Friday to Sonoma State, it's the last day before exams, but I wouldn't go up the next Friday because nobody will be there. Always check in with the admissions office when you visit and do their official tour. That way there'll be a record of you visiting. And in the case of a selected private college, it's going to be helpful with admission. They'll notice that you visited. And they're trying to always figure out when they admit you, what are the chances of you attending? Here's places on campus you should also visit after the tour. Academic services, multicultural affairs, the department of your major, the main dining hall, meet the people. Get out there and really feel the campus. That's what a campus visit should look like. Also meet students you know that attend the school. However, have your filters on if they're freshmen. Listen, if you visit freshmen on a campus right now, it's December, well, not as much December, maybe more so last month. They'll sound so negative and scared and you won't want to go. That's how they always sound the first semester. But when they go back the second semester, things get much better. A lot of them don't make the adjustment as well, or they're wanting you to think it's harder than it is. I can't figure out which one it is. But all my students who are happy at their colleges, it's very evident in the second year and the second semester. So be careful about judging what other people are experiencing to determine whether you want to have the experience. Any questions out there, Christina or Brianna? No? We
No.
cool?
Not at this time.
We cool? Okay,
I have one question.
go right ahead.
Your trip to Sonoma on Friday, is it like just drive up and drive back the same day?
Oh, we drive, Bishop, they would fire me if I drove students to a college. We're flying up, we're flying up. We're flying up, we're taking a shuttle to the campus and we're shuttling back the same day and flying back.
Okay, thank you.
Like a business trip.
Yeah, I clicked on the link, but it says that the cost was to be determined. I'm guessing that you already figured that part out.
Yeah, when people called me, I worked, because the market was crazy then. It was sick. Like right now, I think I can do a trip, I think right now, because it went down. See, I'm glad I waited. Right now, I bet it's around 240. I'm betting I could squeeze you on there for 240. I got an extra chaperone thinking it'll be bigger. So we're in good shape. It's two adults going. And we have 4 kids on the four. Is it 4? I think it's 4. Yeah. 6 of us. So we could add a student if we know now. But anyway, that's another, you can talk to me offline if you're interested. Let's see, go to okay, how to add colleges to the FAFSA. Again, if I'm doing your FAFSA, I got you covered. Because if you had more than 10, I have to do a second submittal. And that's not easy to do all the time. I'll have the steps here today to do that. Because remember, you can only do 10 at a time on a FAFSA. Most of you had less than 10, so I was able to add all your schools. But we're talking about adding colleges. So you could have 7 colleges and want to add a college, and that's not 10, but you need to add a college, right? So how do we do it? We log into the FAFSA, we scroll down, and it made it really easy now. It used to be much harder than this. You scroll down and click on Add College. Listen to this. This is a strange step, everybody. You delete all the colleges that are already there. Why is that? Because the student aid report has already been sent to the universities. You can check, because you'll see you're going to have 2 student aid reports when you're done. Don't enter schools in there when you have schools already there. When colleges get 2 FAFSAs, they tend to look closer and delays the financial aid. You want to have them get 1 FAFSA, you delete all the colleges that are already shown. Usually it's 10, you're adding the 11th, but sometimes it's less. You add the new colleges. Note, you can also print out your student aid report at that moment. You can scroll down further, just click on student aid report, you can print it out. Maybe I'll do a video on that. Christina, could you write that down? Sorry.
Got it.
Why does this work? Why does it work to delete the colleges? Well, when the first colleges already each have their student aid report. That's why it works. You could delete them and start another student aid report. Follow the prompts to deliver the new FAFSA with the additional schools. And that's how we add colleges to the FAFSA. Which begs the question of, should I add colleges? Well, here's what I think. Yes, if the colleges will cost less than your most expensive private, don't add a bunch of other high-cost colleges or colleges of the same genre. I mean, say you've already applied for, 10 or 11 HBCUs. I wouldn't add another HBCU. I would add something different, like add a CSU or add something else that costs less than your most expensive private colleges. I'm ready to take questions on this if you want. Many CSUs are still open, for example. So we had November 30th, and I sent out an email about this, but the only closed CSUs we have now are San Diego State, CSU Poly, San Luis Obispo, CSU Fullerton, CSU Long Beach, and San Jose State. Somebody said, those are the ones I want to go to. I know, that's why they're closed, because they were the more popular CSUs. The CSU that's not listed, that's closed, to my surprise, is CSU Bakersfield. But we know the people there really well. If you want to go there, I can get you in there. I should say too right now that don't wait too long on these. I mean, Bailey, who's here today, is going to be about every week or so updating which CSUs are still open, okay? But I wouldn't wait too long. I got a couple of them I'm rushing through today for transfer students, today and tomorrow, trying to beat a deadline. But I wouldn't wait. They'll be closing at a different time. Some are not saying what they're extending to, but Cal State LA just sent me an email. They're extending to January 16th. So that's a clue. No, that's not true. December 16th. And Fresno announced December 15th. So you'll see them, some of them announcing when they'll close. The others just will close when they're ready, right? I think right after the 30th, Long Beach stayed open for another day or two before they actually closed. In case you're wondering, schools like San Diego State, Poly SLO, Fullerton, they closed the second that hit click midnight. Relevant priority deadlines upcoming for schools. Boise State University has a financial aid FAFSA deadline of December 15th. After that date, it gets harder for me to get that award for you, the special award. I think all of my Boise State applicants their FAFSAs are in, or I've asked or something. We'll find. Hey, Gabriel, is yours in? Gabe?
Sorry, what was that?
Gabe, is your FAFSA in for Boise State?
I have to go back and check to see.
Yeah, check with your mom. You want to get that in by the 15th, okay?
Okay,
Of December, not January, December.
got it.
University of San Diego has an application deadline of the 15th and a FAFSA deadline of the 15th. Most people don't know that about University of San Diego. This is not San Diego State. It's not UC San Diego. It's the private school, University of San Diego. Nevada Reno has a deadline of December 15th on the application and the FAFSA. While Grand Canyon doesn't have a deadline, I just know from experience that the extra little scholarships they have seem to start disappearing after the 15th of December. So if you're applying to Grand Canyon, get that done and file your FAFSA. Okay. Also think you can add a college if there's no essay or only the Common App essay, which you've probably already done. Like if you add a school like University of Laverne, that's a smart addition. I know a lot of you wouldn't want to add them, but that's a smart addition. There's no additional essay, right? It's really easy application. There's no supplement is the point. They'll take the Common App just like it is, no work, it goes in. And they'll waive the fee until December 15th or December 30th, one or the other. So schools like that, and they have a good financial aid algorithm. They do really good with financial aid too. So I don't know if you're interested in that school. Question, are you doing, that should be many. Are you doing too many private colleges? That's a good question. If you have a whole lot of private colleges, you might want to add an out-of-state state university or CSU to your list to kind of diversify your list, okay? That might be a good idea. If you decide to add a CSU, we can help you with that and get that done really fast. We did 2 or 3 last week really quickly. What should students do while they're waiting on the college decision? This is a very good list here. I hope you check it out. And one, you should hit the books hard. Also, don't worry about who's getting accepted to what school. So just hit the books hard and do these things I have here. You can call your top schools' admissions office and ask, is my admission file complete and have you received my transcript? Well, that's a good thing to do because, let me tell you why, because, oops, sorry about that. I will actually have to go back. Oops, I'll go all the way down the end there. Hold on, guys. There we go. Okay. Hit the books, call your schools, and you want to call them because it goes on your record. They notice that you called. They will notice that you called. And that's if you're doing a selective private colleges, I'm just going to demand you should really call the school. Call the top ones that you really want, okay? So they have a record that you called. Are all schools delivered and on the SAR, parents? Student aid report. Have all transcripts been delivered to the non-CSUs and non-UCs? Because you remember, CSU and UC do not require the transcript. Do any of the schools that remain require the CSS profile? Okay, these are all questions that you should be determining, parents. If you need any help from me at all, please get a hold of me. I'll be glad to assist you in any way I can, okay, and help you with that. All right, that was all I had for today, believe it or not. That didn't take too long, I suppose, but boy, it took longer than I thought it did, but didn't take long. Any questions that we have right now? Questions, concerns? Jim?
There's a question. It states, are you suggesting we call only if we didn't receive an admissions letter? That's what someone.
Oh, if you got an admissions letter, hallelujah, no need to call. But if you didn't get it yet and it's a selective private school, that's a good thing to do. It shows interest in the school. It shows that, hey, I'm interested in going. And it should be the student, not the parent. I don't think I said that clear enough. It should be the student making that call. And boy, they do notice. They will notice that you called to check on that application. Anybody else? All right. I guess I got them all. I want to thank you all for coming. Don't forget to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe there, because I'm going to be doing a lot more short videos during this period, because I don't want to have a lot of meetings during Christmas, but I want to get information to you fast. Try to open up my emails. We're having a good open rate. This group, the seniors this year, there's a 65% email open rate. That's the best we've ever had right now. Just keep opening those emails. I'll try to keep my videos short and to the point. Go in there and get that information, because things could come up really quick. Like one thing I know I'm going to be doing shortly is taking roll call. And that means for our partner schools, they want to know what students from our program applied there. So we have Long Beach, I'm going to do it with. Sonoma State, I already did it with Sonoma, I couldn't wait. But I'm going to do it again. Boise State, to make sure I think I know everybody who's applying. But we're going to be doing some CSUs to have called and said, hey, could you tell us who's applied from your program? I want to make sure that Northridge asked me, for example. So I want to be sure they know who my students are so they can bless them. Okay.
Deacon, there's another question here. How will the CSU and UC get the transcripts? And it says Tyler is planning to apply to Boise State. That's another comment from Patricia.
Whoa, since Patricia, really? I thought I knew all y'all. I want to help. I want to help. You're gonna be glad. Could you call me? Go ahead and put my cell phone in the chat, Christina. Could you? Sister Thompson, could you call me?
I will call you.
Right afterwards, so I can guide you on that to make sure you don't pay the fee, and make sure I tell Abby you're applying.
Okay.
We can take care of you.
Okay.
And then we'll find out what's going on with CSU at that time too, okay?
Okay.
As for CSU and UC, that's actually a good question coming out of this meeting. It's heavily implied today. I didn't say it today, but UC and CSU do not request the transcript. There is a grade self-report in the application, and it's not user-friendly and it's very gnarly. But when you get through that, that's what they go on. Now, do they ever get a transcript? Yes, if you pick the school and you enroll, they'll request the final transcript. And that's where people get the letter if they did something wrong in the fall. Because when they admit you in CSU by state law, it's called a provisional acceptance. If you read their letter carefully, that's what it's saying. It's saying you're provisionally admitted. So if you, I was going to say that different, but I better not go and am a deacon. So if you horse around and you get a D or an F, they can withdraw that admission. In fact, UC is a little tougher than that. If your GPA doesn't stay to the level it was at, they can pull it. But they don't request the transcript. Get this, unless they ask. That's why you want to watch your portals, because they could ask. Because the student made a mistake on the self-report or something not clear, they're going to request the transcript. Now, I'm particularly concerned about that, Sister Thompson, this year, because this year we had a record low that we actually did on our program. A lot of schools were intervening and helping students this year. And that's good. I actually like that they wanted to help. But from the calls I'm getting, I regretted not being there when they did it. Because
So each school, now, since they already applied to the Cal States, they have to go in and establish the portal. I think I remember you saying that last month when I logged in, so that they can communicate with them, right?
Correct, because I don't know in the school if they told the kids to follow up or showed them how to do their portals.
No.
Whereas we show our customers how to do it.
Right. I remember last month you told us that they need to establish a portal.
Yeah, so if they've applied, CSU's already been emailing them. Hey, Christina, could you explain that better to me? Christina, are you there? Probably driving her crazy, telling her to do 50 million things at once.
And also these tickets, each one of the portals are different.
Each one is totally different. That's right. Thank you for pointing it out.
Right.
Now, you know how it is in California, Sister Patricia. Come on now. You've been living in this state long enough to know we don't do anything simple here.
Right. Some of you have to look at their YouTube video to figure out how to set it up.
It's crazy. I think Christina would agree with that. You agree with that, Christina?
Right, definitely. Especially like Long Beach. Like Long Beach, for example, doesn't have a portal. There's a link where you put in your student ID that they temporarily give to you. And then it just gives you the status of your application. So you really don't have a portal. It just gives you a status that you can input your student ID with. But there's a specific link for that. There's other schools, for example, that require a 2-step verification that I noticed.
Oh, yeah. Tell them about that.
So a lot of these schools, I don't remember the school on top of my head. But basically what they're saying is like scan a QR code and then you're able to create an account. What else have I encountered?
Yeah, you get the idea though, Sister Patricia.
There's just different ways to set it up. There isn't just a straight way to set up account. Each school is different.
And I don't think that when the schools help the students to do their CSU, once the CSUs were sent, they were like, let me go on about something else. You need that follow-up, and maybe that's where we come in. I don't know.
And like Deacon mentioned in the beginning of the meeting, the key thing with these portals is to find the student center. And then the student center is where you'll be able to find out if they're requesting something from you, if they have accepted you, and also the financial aid information. So there's like a report too that they offer there. So those are the key things that you're looking for. And even in your Gmail, what has happened in the past is a lot of these emails go to the spam. And then these are important emails because this can be whether or not they accept you or not. I think there was a case, right, Deacon? One of us, I think it was a crucial email. The student had to respond. I'm thinking about it, Siri.
Yeah, I know.
He had to respond for admission. And of course, this email was in the spam folder. You wouldn't, think to look into that folder.
Right.
And that he missed admissions, so he wasn't able to go to school that year. I believe later on he, they
Oh, yeah, it
resolved
worked
it,
out
but
later,
it
but
takes a
yeah.
while.
Yeah.
And of course, you need the guidance of Deacon Wilson, because without Deacon Wilson and parents and student advocating as a whole team, it's very hard to kind of, beat this battle. So make sure your students are checking their spam. One last thing I'll say is I recommend that the students, especially if they have smartphones, the iPhones, if they can add the Gmail account that is associated with their CSU account application, activate that Gmail to your phone. So then that way the student can get notifications, can constantly be checking that Gmail rather than logging into a computer to check their Gmail. So we should use this technology to our advantage.
Okay.
Who was that got on me about technology today? I think it was Sister Alberta. I'm not sure.
Right.
That's the way it is. Now, while my mind is on it, because every year I forget, San Diego State, we need to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Their opening email goes to spam a lot.
Mm.
So if they applied to San Diego State, they need to check their spam right after this meeting.
Mm.
I already bailed out a couple, because remember, we have them send it to email we can open, right? So I've already unspammed a couple of those.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that in mind. So all that stuff, I guess I realize now there's good news that the schools are more interested in helping. But the bad news might be in how they pick the schools. Like I had one that already called me that pick all these selective CSUs and they're 2.4. And that's because teachers and counselors don't know CSU the way, I hate to say it this way, don't know it the way we know it. I hate doing that. That sounds so perfunctory, but we do. We know CSU. So let's check over those CSUs. I'll be glad to do a CSU analysis. I could do it in 3 minutes if I had everything I needed in a phone call.
You're gonna have a question? Oh, maybe
Yes,
Brianna.
this is Brown. I've been
Oh,
at everybody.
no, if you want, sorry, Christine, I didn't mean to jump in front of you. If you want to read it off, that's fine.
Yes, I'm reading off this in the chat. This is a great question. So it's in regards to portals. So some parents are a little bit confused, so we'll reiterate it. So the first step was to apply on CSU.
Wait a minute, hold it. If we should probably say, if we did your CSU application, we getting to you, believe it. We're gonna check on you this week. So Sister
Yes, we'll check on
Carmuccia,
your portals.
yeah.
But just so the parents know, so when you apply to CSU apply, that was the first step. The second step is that the schools that you apply to will be sending emails to your student telling them how to set up portals. So depending on whether we are helping you or not, that's where we jump in. I'll go into your student's account and look at those emails and set it up for them, or I'll do it with them. So it's two options. So that's why it's important to get the support system with us, and we can help you do that. So this is after you apply for the CSUs. In a couple of weeks or even days, you'll get those emails that explain to you exactly how to set up portals. Some of them are a little bit tricky, and some are straightforward, but of course we're here to help. So just send us an email, or I'll get to you this week as well for a couple more parents that I need to